Seeing that the observatory was empty, Rick went up to the round table in the center of the room, took out the last 2 cookies from the box that had been left there from the latest tea party, and slowly made his way out. He was starting to feel a little mad at his uncle.
Where could he have gone without telling me? Aunt had instructed him in no uncertain terms to keep a close eye on me before leaving.
Rick stuffed his mouth with 2 cookies at once, resembling a hamster, and went downstairs, dropping the cookie crumbs from his mouth onto the rug which his aunt had lovingly covered the stairs with. Suddenly the chiming of the clock drowned out the steady pounding of the rain on the windows and roof. "9 o'clock in the evening." Rick walked into the living room. Without turning on the light, the boy plopped into one of the armchairs in front of the unlit fireplace and heaved a sigh. Right at that moment he heard a faint hissing right next to him. The boy automatically turned to his left and looked at Grok. Uncle Bert kept Grok in a glass tank with an iron grate for a lid. Rick flicked his finger lightly at the murky glass. Grok seemed to be dozing, swaying slightly on his 6 springy legs he had stuck into the damp soil at the bottom of the tank. Grok's only eye in his big round head was not completely covered by the upper and lower eyelids. Rick was sure Grok was watching him through the narrow slit. Beneath the eye there was a fat-lipped mouth with sharp fangs protruding from it. In the darkness, the violet spots on Grok's head phosphoresced, producing poison for his spikes. Grok was a half-plant, half-animal, the pride of his uncle's collection. Aunt Millie hated it with passion. It was hard for her to tolerate something so ugly and evil in her house. Yes, exactly evil, for many of those who came to visit complained of headaches after being near the tank with Grok for some time. But, as we have already mentioned, his uncle was immensely proud to have Grok. A long time ago, when Rick was little, his uncle had told him of the plant's strange properties. Grok could move on its roots like an animal on its feet, and when hungry, it would dig them deep into the soil and absorb water if there was no other source of food nearby. This creature was called Ostikorok, which translates to cat's eye. Grok had been at Uncle Bert's house for quite a while now. He had not changed over time, and no one knew his age. Aunt Millie wished to get rid of Grok with all her heart, but the moment she mentioned selling it or giving it away, her softball spouse would get agitated and put up a good fight. Suddenly Rick noticed something white on the floor next to the tank. It was Uncle Bert's handkerchief. When Aunt Millie returns from aeronaut, she will grumble as usual about how Rick and his uncle have turned the house into a pigsty in 2 days without her.
For some reason you think that I have nothing better to do than clean up after you all day, every day,
echoed his aunt's voice in his head, as he disgustedly picked up the dirty handkerchief with 2 fingers. As he picked up the crumpled handkerchief, which had apparently served his uncle's nose well more than once, the boy noticed a faint bluish glow in the air near the wall. He looked closely and saw that the glow resembled the outline of a door. Rick instinctively knocked on the invisible door. No sound was heard, but the boy's knuckles hit the hard surface. Suddenly a muffled voice came from somewhere far away.
"Open up and come in."
What's there to open?
Mumbled Rick, dazed. The boy looked around, but there was no one in the living room except him and Grok, who was napping. He reached out his palm into the space in front of him, and, to the boy's great surprise, his palm hit something cold and hard. Rick dropped his uncle's handkerchief, and helping himself with his other palm, pushed with all his might against this incomprehensible something, which moved forward and sideways with some creaking, taking on more and more distinct shape. A stone door appeared in front of Rick, hanging in the air just a few inches above the ground. Had it happened to any adult, that adult probably wouldn't have risked stepping through that door as easily as Rick had, without a second thought, albeit with his mouth slightly open in amazement. If only the boy had been seen by his aunt, he would have gotten chewed out. But Aunt Millie was an aeronaut that day, and Rick could do as he pleased.